Muchachos y muchachas. So imagine this. A newly elected president gets inaugurated, just settling down in his new position. Days after that, a few really high key political, national security, policy advocacy, you name it, type of figures from recent administration, the Obama administration, they form a little club called a political NGO, and their whole aim is to go against this newly inaugurated president. I'm talking days after his inauguration. Trump got inaugurated January 20th, 2017. In February of 2017, this was formed. And the more and more I looked into it, I thought, holy crap, this is really, really big. Because look, we've always heard about shadow governments and, those being formed, but we've never really seen it fleshed out. Well, this, my friends, was sent to me over the weekend by a friend, and she was like, this might be something you want to look into and illustrate out. And I thought, okay. And as I looked into it, I was able to piece it together right in front of me how the Obama administration's high-key officials in many respects and industries, holding many positions, not only held a position on this NGO board, but many of them are now sitting officials on Biden's administration today. You guys, you're going to want to see this. Stay right there. We're going to go through it. Friends, big dangers are all around us these days. To survive what's coming, you need to be prepared and self-reliant. That's why I recommend getting yourself some cryptocurrency and some land, some gold, but especially a proper stockpile of emergency food. It's easier than you think. Go to preparewithnatalie.com right now and you'll save $50 and get free shipping on a generous 4-week supply of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. They're the largest preparedness company in America. They've served millions of people who are prepared for what's coming. This food stays fresh for up to 25 years. It will be there when you need it. So do yourself a favor and go to preparewithnatalie.com. You'll save $50 and get free shipping on a 4-week emergency food kit, which gives you breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day. When things get ugly, you'll be glad you will have this food kit. Don't get caught unprepared. Go to preparewithnatalie.com right now, preparewithnatalie.com. So initially looking into this, one of the most intriguing factors for me and my friend was the acronym of this organization, NSA. But upon further digging, it's not the NSA that you and I know. It actually stands for National Security Action. And with this group containing a board of some super powerful key figures, I'm talking about national security, policy advocates, progressive advocates, some of the biggest names you've seen, you would think that you would have known the name of this organization, National Security Action. But in fact, if you go to their website today, this is what it looks like. Very plain, as you see it, nationalsecurityaction.org. All you have is a home link and this small little description as it words, National Security Action is dedicated to advancing American global leadership and a strong, unified, progressive foreign policy by supporting the next generation of leaders in Washington and across the country who share our vision and values. I mean, you would think, right? If they are for the next wave of leaders in America, that they would have some sort of a submissal form or a collaboration sheet, something where people who aspire to be leaders would be able to give them a contact. But as you can see, the entire website is wiped. But worry not, because the internet is forever. This is actually what the website looks like in an archived version. If you type it into Wayback Machine, which is an archival site. And as you can see here, there's a lot more filled in. There are a lot more links, our focus, who we are, newsroom, and get involved. Strange, you would think. That would be an easy thing to leave up if people who, again, aspire to be leaders would be able to contact somebody on the other end. But that's not so. But moving forward, you can see a few bullet points here. And I'm going to mention this because throughout the rest of their website, it gets really repetitive. But this is their mission, or was their mission: committed to restoring principled American leadership at home and abroad. Our mission, National Security Action, is dedicated to advancing American global leadership and opposing the reckless policies of the Trump administration that endanger our national security and undermine U.S. strength in the world. Now, initially, this is their mission, right? This is their short objective piece. But let me remind you that this group was started days after Trump's inauguration. So Trump hadn't even had ground or flight time to even get his administration up and running as of then. It was a month, maybe even. But this is some of their key scopes in the national security action commitments: bringing together and mobilizing an unparalleled network of former senior officials and policy experts, academics, and civil society leaders who are dedicated to a progressive vision of American global leadership, shining a bright light on Trump administration's reckless policies, once again, underscoring their dangerous consequences, and equipping Americans with the arguments to counter them. Developing compelling messaging and communication strategies, serving a bridge between policy and political worlds to shape the national security debates taking place in Washington and around the country, serving as a resource for allies in Congress, grassroots organizations, and emerging leaders in Washington and across the country who share our vision, values, and sense of purpose. And finally, building a strong, unified, progressive opposition to the Trump administration's dangerous policies, which are making the United States less safe and diminishing our standing and influence in the world. What a mirror, huh? Looking back, this was started again in 2017. They thought that this was going to happen under Trump, that, America was just going to fall. Now, again, they do have other pages, our focus, but it gets repetitive, as I stated. Now, before I go into this, I wanted to show you guys this piece. So as I continued poking around on this website, I found the newsroom under the newsroom link. And you can see here that our friends in the mainstream media actually did cover the National Security Action political NGO. And then I came across their press release. So I was curious. I wanted to further look into it. And I found some wording very curious in their press release. Now, this was dated February 27, 2018. And it says, for immediate release, National Security Action launches to take on Trump's dangerous foreign policy, offer affirmative progressive vision. And it says more than 50 preeminent national security leaders and experts have come together to launch National Security Action, an advocacy organization committed to advancing a progressive vision of American global leadership and opposing the Trump administration's reckless foreign policy. Once again, very repetitive. Former Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes and Jake Sullivan, who held senior foreign policy positions during the Obama administration and serving as the Clinton campaign senior policy advisor in 2016, are co-chairs of the new organization. Let me repeat that once again. They both held senior policy positions during the Obama administration and served as the Clinton campaign's senior policy advisor in 2016, co-chairs of the new organization. Now, Ben Rhodes did make a statement on the behalf of this press release saying, on behalf of the broader advisory council, we stood up a nimble campaign-like structure focused on putting forward an affirmative vision of American leadership. Given the enormous stakes over the next 3 years, we feel a sense of urgency about the need to substantially impact the public debate on national security and the future of America's role in the world. And then Jake Sullivan decided to add a quote as well, saying, now it gets interesting. We're committed to organizing an effective, strategic, relentless, and national response to this administration's dangerous approach to national security. This is not a new think tank or policy shop. No, it's not. It's not a think tank or a policy shop, because you'll see the figures included in this very powerful organization. Our role is to help shape the public debate on foreign policy and national security, holding Trump accountable and lifting up an alternative affirmative vision. That's what's needed, and that's why we're here. And again, gets repetitive, but think about that. How powerful, how relentless, how ambitious this new organization was to come against Trump and his 1-month-old administration, just 1 month in. So just to give you guys a few more bits of info on this NGO. Is it an NGO? Yeah. Non-governmental organization. Yeah, it was a political NGO. This is what is explained about the organization on Influence Watch. National Security Action. It's a left-wing 501c4 advocacy group largely composed of former Obama administration staffers and leadership. NSA, ironic, right? Works to advance global policies and oppose the foreign policy of the Trump administration. NSA provides Democratic candidates for public office with talking points and foreign policy legal expertise intended to support the Obama administration's foreign policy consensus.
You wish like you had a third term. And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine with that.
Now, this gets into a little bit more background, and this is how I found out. They started a few months or a few days after Trump's inauguration. National Security Action was established in February of 2017 by Ben Rhodes, a former national security advisor in the Obama White House, and Jake Sullivan, a national security advisor to former Vice President Joe Biden. Both Rhodes and Sullivan were key figures in establishing the Obama administration's 2015 Iran nuclear agreement. Sullivan later served as a senior advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. National Security Action was designed as an advocacy group that could lobby and engage in political activity. It was created to oppose the foreign policies of Trump administration. Sullivan and Rhodes have been critical of Trump. Sullivan said, "We have a president who is erratic on the world stage, escalating conflicts and belligerently threatening war, even a potentially catastrophic nuclear conflict on the Korean Peninsula." NSA co-chair Ben Rhodes has claimed that the group is a temporary organization that plans to dissolve in 2021. Interesting, right? Interesting. And again, I bet I never heard of this organization before, but let me show you why this is so surprising, because look at the people associated with this. Initially, if you go to nationalsecurityaction.org/who-we-r, this is what you land on. Completely deleted. They wiped it off their website. But if you go to an archived version of this, you're going to see some really familiar faces, and we're going to dive right into some of these figures. Again, familiar: Ben Rhodes, Jake Sullivan, the already announced co-chairs. But then you see people like Anthony Blinken, and as we scroll down a little bit further, Avril Haines, and then Alejandro Mayorkas. You see also Jen Psaki, Susan Rice. Scrolling all the way down, we see Linda Thomas Greenfield. So you can see already that this is starting to get a lot more interesting. Now, we're going to dig into these people on this page, okay? Now I'm going to separate it. And the only reason why I'm separating these two groups is because some of these figures, as it mentioned, a lot of them, majority of them came from the Obama administration. And so they crossed straight from the Obama administration right into this political NGO group, correction. And some of them don't hold office today. But then again, a lot of these people do hold some really high positions in our government today, straight from this NGO. Okay, so let's start with the Obama administration, just some people that were some veterans in his administration. Already, you can see how many Barack Obama admins or people of highly positions that were contained in the National Security Action Board. These people didn't necessarily move into direct position in the current administration, but as you can see, they still hold some highly titles. Just to name a few, Jeremy Bash, Chief of Staff to the United States Secretary of Defense, Rand Beers, United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Michelle Flournoy, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, Penny Pritzker, the United States Secretary of Commerce. Again, some really high positions all contained in a little bitty NGO. So we can think of these people who didn't necessarily carry over to this new administration as maybe some, just fellow advisors, some people who may have been involved in all of this activity as they proposed. But let me show you something super interesting, because a majority of this board actually holds a position in our current day government. And it just continuously makes you think, what in the heck were they planning? What were they doing to make such a smooth position? It's almost as if this was a clear roster for his administration. And when I say his, I mean President Biden. So let's take a look at some current people that were in this NGO and currently hold position today. As you'll see here, you will start recognizing some familiar faces. I decided to just start off with some of the ones that stuck out to me along with their titles. And in the latter part, you'll be able to recognize more. But first, we'll start off with Anthony Blinken, the United States Secretary of State. Jen Circleback Psaki, the White House Press Secretary. Alejandro Mayorkas, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Susan Rice, Director of the Domestic Policy Council. Avril Haines, the current Director of National Intelligence. Linda Thomas Greenfield, the United States Ambassador to the United Nations. Julianne Smith, United States Permanent Representative to NATO. Kathy Russell, Executive Director to UNICEF. And as I stated, you guys can take a pause at this video if you'd like to take a look at all of these titles, all of these faces, and you kind of just gather this compositional thought that, wow, all of these people, they were all on the National Security Action Group plotting under Trump's presidency. And it's almost as if they had a swift transition from that group straight into the administration we see today. But take a look at these faces and their titles. All of them are pretty highly. So again, as you can see here, we've heard of shadow government, but we've never had it fleshed out and illustrated until, really, for me, this is now. This is the first time I've heard of this group. This is the first time that I've seen this archived page of board members of prior high-yielding positions in government coming together, all to conspire against Trump, literally. So muchachos y muchachas, for me, I learned a lot through this. Just the fact that this was illustrated in front of me. Again, we've heard of this happening, some underground movements of a shadow government, but we've never actually seen it and named the way we have today. And I just find it very curious why they would erase absolutely everything off their website. It's scrubbed. Why would they do this? What is it that they have to hide? So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Are you surprised? Have you ever heard of this group? Let me know. But if this is your first time ever learning about this, please let me know that as well. Thank you guys again. I will catch you in the next video.